All right, let's go through this detailed scenario, how to save $1 million for retirement, doing some early retirement planning. And I want to show you how easy it is for you to just adjust some of your savings rates or your contributions to your 401k, or maybe saving into a freedom bucket. That way you have money that you can touch anytime, and how you can do it to save more for retirement. So let's look at this individual. I've got a 40-year-old individual. He is single. Okay, so we have a single individual. He wants to retire at 55. So we've got 15 years before retirement. So 40 to 55, 15 years. His 401k balance is $32,664. Now that is the median 401k balance in America today. So that's why I use that figure, $32,664 in his 401k. Yours could be higher, yours could be lower, but that's the median. Now his savings outside of his 401k is $25,000, meaning he has money in the bank. That is the median saved for a 40-year-old here in America. So we've got $25,000 in the bank. We've got about $32,600 in a 401k. His expenses are $36,000 annually. Again, that is a figure, an average figure for a single 40-year-old here in America. His contribution is $187 per month, and he has a match of $187 from his company. So $187 and $187 is going into his 401k. So we first need to figure out what's the balance of this 401k going to be when he retires. Now his salary right now is $75,000 a year. That's the average salary for a 40-year-old here in America. So I don't think I wrote that down. So $75,000 is his salary. So we want to go, okay, what's this 401k going to be worth at 55? Because we know the savings is not going to be worth much of anything, because it's just getting 0.0 nothing. So whatever's going into your savings is not earning anything. What's going into the 401k is invested in the market, so it is earning a rate of return. Now we're going to use 6%. Again, I'm a little bit conservative when it comes to our rates of return. If we get 8, 9, 10%, Dave Ramsey says 12%. If we get that, we're going to high five and chest bump. But when I'm doing an EKG for someone, when we're planning out retirement dollars, I want to be a little bit more cautious, and I would rather under-promise and over-deliver than over-promise and our whole house is blown down by a hurricane, all right? So 6% is going to be our rate of return in retirement. Remember, our contributions on a monthly basis are $375. So that's what's going into our 401k on a monthly basis. And we're going to do this for 15 years. Now, the assumption that we're making when we're just doing some base case planning is that our salary is not going to change and we're not going to have any bonuses. So again, this is very basic planning, but this is where you start, especially if you're wanting to build your retirement plan. You've got to start at the base. If you build a house, you have a blueprint first. Before you start picking out your fixtures and your curtains and your floors, you got to know where you're going to dig your hole. So $32,664, 15 years, earning 6%. At the end of 15 years, the 401k would be worth $189,217. This is not enough to retire at 55 years old. That is not enough money to retire at 55. So in this scenario, we've got to look at his budget. We've got to look at all this and say, okay, can we do one of two things? Can we, one, repurpose more money into the 401k, or two, does it make sense to invest outside of the 401k? In his case, he's got a 401k and he has nothing as an investment on the outside. So he doesn't have any kind of non-qualified or a taxable brokerage account. But he is wanting to retire at 55. So if he wants to retire at 55 and we're in this scenario and we're going to look at saying, do we invest in our 401k or outside of our 401k? If taxes aren't an issue, meaning if his taxes are, he's breaking even or he's getting a small refund, then we are probably going to look at investing outside of the 401k at this point. Because if we put the money in the 401k, if it's not a Roth 401k and we retire at 55, first of all, we can use the rule of 55, whether it's a Roth 401k or a traditional 401k. But if it is a traditional 401k, all the money that we pull out of it at age 55 is taxable income. And so what I'd rather do is, if the Roth option is not available here, put the money in what I call a freedom bucket, a taxable brokerage account, just an extra bucket of money where he can pull from it at any time. 50-year-old, 53-year-old, 57, doesn't matter how old you are, and the IRS won't tax you. Now, you will pay taxes on capital gains and interest, but you won't be penalized. Let me say that again. If you put money into a freedom bucket and you pull it out, you won't be penalized, but you will pay taxes on capital gains, dividends, and interest. So let's look at the budget real quick. So let me find my eraser here. So we've got 189 is what we would be at 15 years. So let's erase this. So now we've got to do is budget. So we've got to say, okay, where can we save some more money? So budget, it's not a bad word. So his salary is $75,000 a year. That's his salary, okay? So if we're looking at his budget, $7,500 of this is going to go to taxes. Okay, so that's an annual figure. And the reason we're doing that is because at $75,000, we have the standard deduction for a single individual. So its effective tax rate, he would only pay $7,500 in taxes. We're not including state taxes in this because he lives in Florida, my state, and there's no state income tax. So if you live in a high state, or if you live in a state that has an income tax or a high income tax, you need to calculate that in, or you need to move to Florida. All right? So $7,500 is what taxes are going to be. His contribution is $22.44. That's his contribution. So that's coming out of that $75,000, right? So it's not money that we don't want to adjust that. We want to keep investing into the 401k. And his expenses are $36,000. So this is like his mortgage, grocery bill, having fun, whatever. That's his expenses. So at the end of a year, we've got $29,256 left over. So this is money that can be repurposed for retirement. Now, here's the one thing I always talk to people about. Just because we have $30,000 repurposed doesn't mean we're going to have $30,000 at the end of each year. There's things that come up, right? You have a healthcare emergency. You need to fix something on your house. An air conditioner goes out. You need to buy a new car. Again, this is why we are going to review this on a quarterly basis to make sure that you're not living on rice and beans. I like rice and beans. It's good for my cholesterol, but it's not something that I necessarily want to always be eating because I'm financially strapped saving for retirement. You got to have fun. Whether you're 40, 41, 43, 33, 53, you want to have fun in this life because we don't know how much time we've got. So it's why we need to review this on a quarterly basis. So we've got $29,256 that we can now repurpose for saving in another account for retirement. All right, now we're looking at the scenario. We figured out how much we can save for retirement by doing our budget. We're continuing to invest in our 401k. So let's look at investing outside of the 401k and build our retirement dollars to $1 million. So we're 40 years old. We're going to continue to invest in our 401k. Remember, at the end of 15 years, we'll have about $190,000 in our 401k, continuing to do what we're doing. Now, freedom bucket. We're starting with 0 in the freedom bucket. 6% is going to be our rate of return for the money going into the market. 15 years, $24.38. That's how much we're going to invest per month, $2,438. That can be adjusted up or down. Again, we need to do our quarterly and annual reviews to make sure that that's the number that we want to continue to invest. At the end of 15 years, this individual would have $709,000. You add those two figures together, that's $899,000 saved for retirement at 55. Now, we're not at our $1 million mark yet. We can't do pixie dust, but we're pretty darn close to what we're trying to accomplish. If this gentleman were to work one more year, continuing to invest, let's say 16 years and 16 years, he would have $988,000. And if we did 2 more years of work, we would hit that $1 million mark. We'd actually be at $1,084,000. So again, when we're looking at retirement planning, when we're doing retirement scenarios, when we're running financial EKGs for clients, which you need a financial EKG to make sure that you can get to retirement, you can get through retirement, and you can protect your ability to stay in retirement. We want to look at all the different scenarios. What if I need to work a couple extra years to make sure I don't retire at the wrong time? That's why you need a financial EKG. You don't want to retire and have to go back to work. So in this case, if he works for an extra year or two, he gets to that $1 million mark. Now, obviously, we don't know what his retirement expenses are going to be. That's another video. But this is how you save money for retirement and you get to that $1 million mark. I hope this has helped. God bless. Bye-bye.